Hello, welcome to a June edition of the Dart Show from home. Yes, loads to talk about in this very special edition for you. Delighted to say, as always, I'm joined by Dan Dawson, Wayne Mardle. Hi.
Hi there, how are you, Bridgie?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. And delighted to say, the head honcho of the PDC, Matt Porter, is with us. And looks like, are you in Rotterdam then, Matt?
Yeah, I popped over, Bridgie, just to check. We've missed it. It's on. Look, there's 9,000 people there. They're waiting for the players.
They're not self-isolated.
Well, no, but they're all 2 meters apart, so it's okay.
Nice to meet you. Guys, let's get straight into it. And let's do a little talk about the home tour. Matt, a real success, we have to say.
Yeah, you know, it wasn't without its obstacles, but it was a tremendous feat of hard work, not least by one of the gentlemen on this call. And I'm not looking at you, Mr. Mardle, or you, Mr. Bridge. So it was a great effort. 101 players, 16 countries, you know, just thousands and thousands of matches and whatever. You know, it was a real innovation and a triumph for creativity and flexibility and positivity, really, at a time when, you know, things are difficult for people. So fair play to everyone that was involved, and we know that you know, hundreds of thousands of people around the world enjoyed it, not just on the PDC and other websites, but 7 different TV companies showed it as well, including Sky Sports in the UK on their app. So it was really well received, and as I say, not without its technical challenges, but you know, that settled down, and it was a great story. And let's hope, you know, in the nicest possible way, it's something we never have to do again.
Tell me about it.
Dan, joking aside, Dan, look, you can be as professional and unprofessional as you like. Were you sick of it in the end?
No, I did quite enjoy. I actually got, by the end of it, it was nice to see light at the end of the tunnel. By the end of it, I genuinely did get a feel, you know, like when you're at one of those week-long tournaments where you get into the business end and it actually all means more. When when you're on day 17 of first phase group stage stuff, and you're not even sure how the second phase of the tournament's panning out, then yeah, it was like, this is a lot of darts. But at that point, it was just nice seeing the guys, you know, just nice seeing the guys play and just talk and everything like that. But by the end of it, it actually did feel like a proper tournament. I quite enjoyed it. I mean, admittedly, I think I've become institutionalised. I haven't left this basement, so it's just part of my life now. I haven't seen the sun, Wayne, for months.
I think for me, I really enjoyed seeing the attitude of a lot of the top players really embracing it. You know, some guys couldn't play for various reasons, but so many players, you know, I mean, listen, we all know that Gary Anderson's not going to crawl over broken glass to play a game of darts unless he absolutely has to. But, you know, the technological challenges that were overcome for him with the help of a couple of companies, and he embraced it, and great for him. He got to the final. Nathan showed fantastic spirit, and to make his own trophy out of a dinner plate was a great touch. Really good. But actually seeing a lot of the guys who we just don't see. You know, we've seen little bits of Luke Woodhouse, and he got his 15 minutes of fame with the 9-darter, and, you know, players from the Pro Tour who are good, honest pros who you know, maybe don't get the headlines, but deserve their chance every now and again to tell the world what they're about. And they had that, and I thought that was a really nice part of it.
And a word as well, guys, on Keegan Brown, because he's worked extremely hard for the NHS, and it's been picked up by various newspapers, and deservedly so. A word on him? Yeah,
I mean, he clearly doesn't work in the NHS's IT department, does he? Otherwise, we wouldn't have had those problems. But, Keegan's, you know, an example to everybody, and he is one of those frontline key workers, one of the heroes of the time. And it was great that we were able to get him back in it. And he's a great lad, Keegan. So, you know, it was good that he didn't struggle too much after that first night.
Yeah, I agree. And there's other guys out there who are doing stuff as well. You know, Carl Wilkinson was carrying on his job as a courier all the way through this. Johnny Clayton was out delivering food parcels. There's a fair, you know, they are darts players and professional sportsmen, but they're also members of their local communities, and they're doing what they could to help out a lot of them. So yeah, I think that's part of the thing. You got to see some darts, and it was a meaningful tournament come the end of it. But it was also just a little reflection on how these guys were doing their bits. A lot of them as well.
I think it was important for us to keep people active, give them something to focus on. You know, we were encouraged by the amount of players who said, well, I didn't really fancy it. I thought I'd give it a go, but actually I really got into it. You know, Joe Cullen was one in particular, Glenn Durrant as well. You know, there was a few of the lads who really sort of embraced the concept and actually did prepare for it, and didn't just sort of turn up in their kitchen or their shed or whatever at 7:25, ready to go. You know, they prepared for it as if it was a proper match. So, you know, that was good as well, that we were able to give them something to occupy their minds at a time when, you know, their regular work, if you like, has taken a back seat.
We're slowly seeing sports coming back, Matt. The snooker's come back, horse races come back. The Premier League is coming back, football. Where are we in terms of the restart, and in particular on the World Matchplay?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen we've announced that the World Matchplay will take place on its intended dates. Although we've had a few people scoffing at us, we haven't given up hope of a crowd in Blackpool, and that's purely because the government hasn't given up hope of allowing public gatherings to take place again. You know, we're expecting an announcement on July the 4th. It's not our decision. We're in the hands of other people, and we will wait for and be guided and led by what the decisions from above are. If the regulations are in that you can have a public gathering, there will obviously be different restrictions, social distancing and testing and whatever. If you can do it, then we will do our utmost to do it, because we know how good the World Matchplay is as an event, and the crowd is one of the main factors that makes it so good. So we want to give that every chance. Now, we expect to know by the first week of July, and that will only give us 2 weeks to get things in place, but we can do it. You know, we've got people, we're working behind the scenes hard every day. We've got experts who we've brought in from different fields. We're talking to the relevant government departments, the venues. So we will be ready if we're allowed a crowd. If we're not allowed a crowd, then clearly people will still want to see the event. So we'll then become wholly committed to a TV broadcast event, which will be played behind closed doors in a bubble type environment where there'll be a hotel on site, and everyone will be tested and confined to that space for the period of time that they're involved with the event. And we'll be able to play the event, and we will have various innovations that we've already started discussing with Sky to help create some atmosphere, albeit artificially.
Oh, hang on. What innovations are these? Cardboard cutouts and crowd noise. What's the plan?
Where the NRL and the Bundesliga lead, the PDC's happy to follow. Don't worry, Dan.
Oh, fantastic.
That's good.
Well, you've got one. Wait, you've got one. You can whack
Look.
Wayne, for just $79.99, Wayne, you two can be in the front row.
Exactly. Look at it. Look. I'll tell you what, it's not very good quality cardboard, I must admit.
That's okay. We'll make you a new one. No, in all seriousness, we're not going to put the World Matchplay on in a Pro Tour cubicle. That just wouldn't be appropriate, you know. So we will do it. If we have to do it behind closed doors, it will be done on the proper stage, the proper set, all the various bits and pieces that you see. But obviously, because things like the walk-on and the crowd reactions and things like that wouldn't be natural, we're going to have to work hard with technology and with creativity to make them possible.
I watched the Bundesliga at the weekend, and they put the fake crowd noise on. And at first I dismissed it, but it actually did work. Genuinely, it actually added to it. Before, you could just hear everyone speaking and shouting, but there was something about it. I thought, wow, this actually does work. And people like Gary Lineker picked up on it. Would you consider that sort of crowd noise in the background artificial?
Your mind reacts to what it understands, doesn't it? And what it's natural. When it turns on a big football match or a big darts event, it expects there to be crowd noise. So if it was played in silence, and then there's also the issue about player reactions as well. If it was played in silence, would players react? Would they do anything if they got a 180? Would they jump around if they won? You know, they're the things we still want to see. Would the referees still feel comfortable calling a 180 at the top of their voice in an empty hall? You know, all these things are considerations. So you have to try to generate the situation that people want to see as best as possible. And there will be ways in which we can integrate real people in real situations into the event, and it'll be, you know, some sort of crowd, you know, copy, if you like. There's different things in discussion, and we've got, you know, 5 or 6 weeks. Or, as I say, we might still have a crowd, in which case we've got real people doing real things.
Just to mention that the players, their managers, wives, girlfriends, whatever it may be, will any of those be allowed into the facility?
Yeah, it would be our intention. It would be our intention to ensure that each player can be accompanied. Yeah, I mean, we'd have to see on what the total restrictions on number of people were, and we would cut back staffing to ensure it was essential personnel only. But you know, we would make sure that or we would do our very best to make sure that players could be accompanied by, one person, whatever, because otherwise it would be very, very difficult for them to mentally prepare, I think, and to, remember which foot each shoe goes on, and all the other things that managers can do for players, So we need to make sure that that the players are able to prepare as best as they can. And so someone to accompany them would be part of that.
Yeah, it's the same event, but like you said, the crowd, which are fundamental to a dance tournament on TV. So it seems like you're doing absolutely everything possible, which is great.
Yeah, the big issue at the moment, which we need to resolve, and this has an impact on how quickly we can start tour events again as well, is the 14-day quarantine for overseas visitors to the UK. If there's some form of exemption for sportsmen on that, which we understand is being discussed because of Premier League football, Formula One, whatever, then, that would certainly help the situation. So again, we're in the hands of others on that, and we'll wait and see what comes out on that front.
I presume, whether it be tour events or the match play, I presume there's been pretty robust discussions going on with the PDPA about how rankings work, because obviously we'd have had a load of events to qualify for the match play. Plus, we don't know at the moment how many players would be able to come and play in the match play or tour events, which there's going to be, somebody's going to miss out, I would imagine, and somebody's going to be unhappy. And those discussions must be fun, I would think.
Yeah, that might be one of the biggest challenges that we're having at the moment, in all honesty. There was supposed to be 10 Pro Tour events, Players' Championship events, in between the March 15th, the last event we played, and the World Match Play. With the best will in the world, we're not going to be able to get 10 events in, even if all restrictions were lifted immediately. It would be a real challenge. So, as I say, we're waiting on the quarantine situation. We're waiting on the crowd situation, and we will do our best to arrange events to lead up to the World Match Play, to get players back into match practice, to get players the opportunity to try and qualify if they're not in those qualifying spots at the moment, or to try and hold on to them if they are.
Have you got a sort of number in mind about the number of players who'd be able to come over and they go, right, we're just going to carry on the rankings as normal? Are there various options here? Is one of them potentially freezing the rankings for the rest of the whole 12-month period, or is that off the table?
I don't think that's on the table at the moment, because I think it's too early to talk about that, But what I would say is we've got an obligation to 128 tour card holders. If there's one or two who have problems getting back into the UK for various reasons, whether it's travel or their own personal situation or whatever, then they might be unlucky, because we can't leave 124 people at home because 4 people can't get in. That would just be, not the right thing to do. It would be unfortunate on any individual who wasn't able to come back, but assuming that number was a small number and a small percentage of the overall field of tour card holders, then we would need to look after the majority.
Yeah, glad I don't have to make those decisions. That looks a very, very difficult thing to organise.
That's why I've gone to Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Just in impossible situations, and
it's very difficult. And there's no. It's very unlikely you can do anything at the moment in any field where you're going to please 100% of the people. You just have to make sensible, practical decisions. And to be honest, you have to make quite short-term decisions, because as we've said all along, I think when I've been on here and other forums before, nobody knows what it's going to be like in 2, 3, 4, 5 months. They can say what they like, but nobody knows what it's going to be like. So you can't.
We don't know what it's going to be like by the time we finish this.
No, exactly. You can't start putting red lines through things or moving different things that are ages and ages away, or adding new things in or whatever. You have to be nimble. You have to be flexible. And everybody understands that, because it is unprecedented and hopefully unique.
How tough has this been for you, Matt? Obviously, we're all working from home, but for you personally, just how tough? Talk about, as Dan's mentioned, just all the logistics, all the tournaments. This must be absolutely. You've seen in football, like League One and League Two, the national. You work with Lorient as well. You know the problems at that level as well.
Yeah, of course, it is. Look, it is tough. It is tough, but you have to take a step back. You can't get too emotionally involved in it all. You can't get too bogged down in all the news and everything like that, all the reaction. you have to take, as I said, a practical, a pragmatic approach. You have to be realistic, and you do it, as I've said, you have to be nimble and flexible. And I like to think one of the things I can do is be flexible and be able to react to a situation quickly and try to focus on what is going to happen next rather than what might happen in 10 steps time. Of course, that's important what's going to happen in 10 steps time, but when you're in a position where you don't know what steps 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are going to be, then you can't look too far ahead. People say to me, what about the World Championship? I'm not really worried about the World Championship at the moment. I'm worried about the World Matchplay. I'm worried about the Premier League restart. I'm worried about the Pro Tour restart. About as far ahead as we're looking at the moment is probably, the World Grand Prix in Dublin. Everything else beyond that can be dealt with later down the line because we've got good enough people and we've got good enough reaction to deal with that. And I have to say, everybody's really been very positive and very supportive. We're not getting ridiculous amounts of criticism when people aren't, saying that we're abandoning them or anything like that. There's been communication in place with people in all strands of the PDC from day one to make sure that everybody has stayed supported and stayed as informed as we're able to about what's happening. So we've just got to keep staying calm, being sensible, and focusing on what we're going to do next in order to get the wheels turning again.
It's a real travelling tournament, isn't it, the Premier League? You have mentioned it. So is that something which is highly on your mind as well as the match play? In terms of logistically, you're going from city, you're going from country.
Yeah, the Premier League's difficult because obviously we're dealing with Germany, Netherlands, Northern Ireland, Scotland, England. We've got 5 different territories that will have 5 different rules and things like that in place. So that is a real challenge. The good thing with the Premier League, though, is that if of the 11 nights we've got left, if we were able to do, say, 8 of them, you could still make a proper tournament out of that. If we had to start only being able to do 2 or 3, then it might get a challenge. But we've got a plan in place to start again on the 30th of July, and we've got another plan beyond that if we're unable to start again on the 30th of July. So the main focus at the moment is the match play, the Pro Tour restart. Once we know exactly what the situation is on those, then we'll have a better idea of what we're doing on the Premier League. And of course, with the Premier League as well, because there's a lot fewer players involved, although the travelling presents more logistical challenges, the fact that you've got a smaller group of personnel does make it slightly easier.
Yeah, it's been extremely difficult for the last few months, but I think people have been very patient in terms of the darts. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. We're very much up to date on that. Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, stay well. Speak to you later.
So that was Matt Porter today, giving you a big update on all the tournaments coming up, particularly the World Match Play. He also spoke about the Low Six Home Tour. What a success that's been over the past few months. I was going to say weeks, but months. And I'd like to say the playoff champion is with us. What a year he is having. There he is, Nathan Aspinall. Nathan, congratulations, mate. I mean, it's been a tough year for everyone, but it's fair to say, in terms of your darts, you are having a good year.
Yeah, like I said, before the lockdown, I'd won 2 tournaments. I had a good one in the Masters, and obviously I was doing quite well in the Premier League. I was in the top 4, so obviously it came at a pretty bad time for myself. And then the first probably 2 months when I was practicing, I just kind of felt like I'd lost it. I was putting the hours in, but it just wasn't. I wasn't playing well. I didn't play very well in the home tour at the start, but I came good at the end when I had to. I put a few more days practicing going into the final couple of groups, and played really well and came out on top.
Did it all start off, Nath, as like, look, this is a bit of fun, and then get serious?
Definitely. Obviously, we did the trial night, and obviously that was a bit of fun. Obviously, with the legend that is Steve Beaton and Bunting, so we had a bit of fun that night. Obviously, the first group, you want to win it, but at that time, I don't think anyone knew where it was going to go. We didn't know we were going to have the semi-finals and finals. Nothing was announced. So, I didn't. Obviously, you want to win, but I didn't give it my full attention. And obviously, when it all got announced that it was going to play down to a winner, I tried a bit harder. And of course, you want to win it. You want to beat these boys, whether it's playing at home or on the World Championship stage. You want to beat them and get one over on them.
No single event in the history of sport has ever gone on for 42 days. Consecutive days. That man up there, Dan Dawson. every single one. Absolutely
Hey,
amazing. He was more amazing than you, Nathan.
Hey, full credit to him.
I didn't really have much else on, lads, to be honest. So, I was all right.
I must give him credit as well, guys, because he also did the sports one as well, the footballers one. I don't know if you saw it, Nathan, but the footballers one. Paul Gallagher from Preston.
Very good. Yeah, I did see that.
He is a player, isn't he?
He's all right. Well, Alex Hales third 301 in 8 darts. That was very, very impressive, Alex Hales. But yeah, Paul Gallagher is really good. But I know I've been down to Preston with Michael Smith beforehand, so we knew he was kind of a decent player on the sly. But yeah, I mean, look, Nathan showed it himself. The format is really tricky to get your head around. But once you start getting used to it, you can get better. You can get back to playing your normal game. I mean, by the end of it, Nathan, you got the hang of the whole online darts thing, because you played other tournaments, not the home tour, just online ones, and you were going out first, second round, weren't you?
Yeah. So obviously, when it got announced, I thought, I need to try and get ahead of everyone here and try and play in a few little comps. But obviously, Mike Smith, Dolby, they all thought the same because they've been playing them day in, day out. So I played a couple of them, and I just couldn't get my head around it. I was getting beat, like say, first, second round every single tournament, and I just found it hard to get into a rhythm. I'm like you all know, I'm an adrenaline fueled player, and I love hopping around like Tigger. You know what I mean on the stage. It's pretty hard to do that in your kitchen, but come the end of it, I kind of got into my own little rhythm, and I've worked out what worked for me.
How were you doing that? Were you watching the screen, or were you kind of counting, or how were you doing that?
I think Gary mentioned it in an interview that he did. I was waiting. As soon as I heard that third dart hit the board, I was approaching the hockey. That was kind of in my head. That was my trigger to step up to the hockey.
Right, this is quite interesting. So the man you beat in the final gave you a hint on how to beat him. That's hilarious.
Yeah. It was because I was waiting for them to shout the scores out originally, but then I was waiting too long in between throws, and like obviously, even though it's a couple of seconds, you notice it. And obviously, I'm one of them guys that is right there as soon as you've thrown. I'm there. So I read that thing about Gary, and I thought I'd give that a crack in it. Well, I beat him, and it worked. Cheers, Gary.
That's hilarious.
It's just amazing how it's all internet speed at the start, because Gary's internet speed wasn't even good enough to start with. Did that take some getting?
I thought he was going to win it. I thought it would just be the perfect story. The guy that didn't even have internet, basically, to end up winning an internet tournament. It would have been quite a good story, really. But yeah, unlucky.
and have you put that trophy on your mantelpiece somewhere? Because we saw you made a ready-made trophy.
Well, a funny story about that. So I beat Gary, and for me, Gary was a big game. Beat him, and kind of, I said to my missus, I said, right, I need a white plate. I said, I'm going to make a makeshift trophy. She's like, we've not won it yet. I said, yeah, but I played really well, and I'm not going to get beat off Johnny here. And I was 4-2 down. So I said, get the Brillo pads out. We're going to have to get all that paint off, and we'll have to put it back in the cupboard. But now it's actually next to my UK Open trophy until I get the real things.
Well, you are going to get the real thing. So I don't know if you know, but Low Six, the sponsors, obviously, they were doing like a free to enter tournament. The winners, or what turned out to be winners, was going to get a VIP treatment, a tournament, televised. Then PDC, obviously, all expenses paid, you name it, and also get to present you the Low Six Home Tour Playoff trophy, which is going to be miles better than an IKEA plate.
Well, I was going to say, I hope it. Well, I don't think it's IKEA. It'd probably be an M's, but I hope it's better than that. Yeah, but that'd be good.
It turns out that they had to predict so many matches, and the points come down to, right, 2 of them were equal going into the final night. The final night. So they said, right, okay, we'll carry on. Well, they were still equal after you'd won it. So you're going to get 2 people present you the trophy. But they're actually going to have a 9-dart challenge in front of you. You're going to kind of be putting them off. You're going to be putting them off, basically. So it was amazing for these punters as well. They're going to be part of presenting you a major, by the way. It's a major.
Well, we've just been looking at something on Dart's database, and they've actually put it on there as well. So I'm quite happy.
Look, I'm the walk-on world champion. It's a major, man.
Take anything.
Wayne, you'll get people tweeting you soon going, it's not a major, it's not a major.
Yeah. That's the only reason I said it. But before I stop talking for a second, I just want to say I'm not in my pyjamas. I'm just not.
I don't believe that. I think they're just...
Fill your comments in below, everyone. Nathan, on a more serious note, how it's been great to be part of the PDC. I mean, you know, Dan's done fantastic to be doing that every night. And Darts kind of led the way, didn't they, during this pandemic, that we could do something, we can watch something.
Yeah, I said it at the end of my interview, obviously, full praise to Dan for putting up with all of us, because obviously some of them have got more banter than others. But, no, you know, fair play, and obviously the PDC for giving us the opportunity to play. But like I say, it has been brilliant. It's been tough, and obviously we've had no live darts. You know, I'm sick to death of watching the Ryder Cup from 2006. That's all I've been kind of watching. So it's been nice for some live action, and what the PDC did was brilliant. And yeah, it was definitely a success. But hopefully, it was a one and only.
Do you think that it will have helped you competitively going forward, say to the match play or whatever's in between or before and after that?
To be fair, no. I don't. Obviously, a lot of people have been saying, because there's been a lot more time to practice, and obviously we have been doing it home, so the standard is going to be dead high when we get back. I think I had a chat with you yesterday, Dan, and I disagree. I think the standard's going to be lower when we first go back, because obviously you can practice as much as you want, but nothing compares to playing face to face on that stage in front of the cameras. So I don't think it's going to help. The only thing is that it's kept my arm loose, basically.
In
What do
that
you think
sense,
about that, Nave? Because you'll go into this not just because of the home tour, but because of the fact you won 2 titles already this year and made semi-finals of the Worlds and the Masters. You are going to be one of the favourites for the World Match Play. And I know that when you've gone to the World Championship and you've had a couple of semi-finals runs, you've been, you know, talked about as a contender, you know, but you won't be going in like you will to the Match Play as one of the, I would imagine, top 4 or 5 picks to go all the way and lift the title. That itself brings a different kind of pressure for you.
Yeah, it's obviously I've kind of been this guy where I've gone about my own business, and everyone knows I'm a good player, but I'm a really, you know, going to be challenging for these titles. A lot of people, like I said no, and I've proved them wrong. So obviously now I've got a different pressure where people do think I'm going to win these tournaments, and I just love playing the game. You know, I go on that stage, I've always got a smile on my face, and you know, obviously you want to win, but obviously if you do lose, I kind of say, right, okay, what have I done wrong, and move on to the next tournament. So I think that's quite a good attribute that I've got in my locker. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the match playing. Like I say, I'm playing well. I've started up in my practice now. I'm playing really well at the moment, and you know, fingers crossed I can have another major like the one I won last week.
Nathan, there might be an option that it's a likelihood that it might be behind closed doors,
yeah,
but it will be on Sky Sports. So there will be great viewing figures at home, but you might not have a crowd. How do you think you will react to that? And some players obviously feed off a crowd. We know which ones, but how will you do you think, personally?
I do feed off the crowd. I love the louder the better for me. However, you know, I've played in European events when I've not been a seed, and I've turned up in Germany on a Friday afternoon and played in front of like 2 security guards and a bar staff. So, and that's on a stage, you know what I mean?
And
so,
Dan.
you know, and Dan, of course, yeah. He's always there, Dan. But
only me.
It's the way he said it. Dan's always there.
Yeah. But no, I know how it feels to play on a stage without an audience. And obviously the UK Open more recently as well, a couple of years back. So I know how it feels. Obviously, it's not ideal, but I think the most important thing is getting the event going, whether it's going to be in Blackpool or an alternative venue. Just getting back in. playing on telly, which I can't wait.
Well, Matt's just been on earlier, saying we might have cardboard cutouts and actual fan noise piped in. So
That'd be brilliant. Well, they've done that in football, haven't they?
Yeah. And it actually works.
Now.
It actually works, yeah.
Yeah, you're in your office now. Just get whatever you can. Cardboard cutouts, Lego men, soft toys, Radio Kids soft toys. In there, pipe in some crowd noise. That'll get you prepared for the match play. That'd be my tip.
There's a reason I come in the office. I've had enough of the kids' toys, so they're not.
Are you ready to just go back into it now? I mean, obviously, lockdown hopefully is easing for everyone. I mean, I think we can all say we're all sometimes fed up and everything. But are you ready now to sort of like move forward and get your career back on track?
I think I was ready after about 3 days, to be fair. It's been great at home. Like I said in a few interviews, I've had a bit of time to look back at my last 18 months, and it's kind of all sunk in now. Obviously, I've had 3 months off, and I am ready now to get back. I've come back in the office today. It's been my first day back, so I'm trying to get back to a bit of normality. The young lad that I practiced with, Louis Williams, he's going to start coming down from next week. So hopefully get back to some normality, and in 3 or 4 weeks, get me Matchplay campaign under go.
He's good by the way, isn't he?
He's very good. He's my little prodigy. He's very, very good. He beats me all the time, to be fair to him. He's a very good player. As long as he keeps his head screwed on, he'll do well in.
Well, when we do go back to normality, you'll be one of the players to beat. You're right up there, Nathan, and that's purely on merit. So congratulations on everything you've done so far. And we look forward to seeing you at the match play and all the tournaments for the rest of the year. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Goodbye, mate.
Good seeing you, mate. Good seeing you.
Yeah, mate. Take care. Well, that was Nathan Aspinall there. I mean, what a season he's having so far. And the Low 6 Home Tour playoff champion. But plenty of today's Darts Show is talking about the World Match Play and coming back. So who better to speak to about the match play than last year's winner, Rob Cross. Rob, thanks so much for joining us.
Welcome.
Rob, are you like everyone else, just ready to get back to it all now?
Oh, definitely. It's been a long time and stuff, and at least now we've got something set in stone, so I've got something to work to now. Obviously, when there's no darts on and you're trying to maintain your practice, but at the same time you're not practicing for anything. And at least now it'll settle us, or it'll settle me definitely, and look at doing my job in hand when we go back.
You've mentioned many times, Rob, that you need to get your preparation right to actually play anywhere near your best. So, has it been a real grind, a real chore not being able to do that?
It's probably been the weirdest thing in my life. Well, it feels like I've just gone back to work. That's all I've done is outside and sorted the house out and done a few bits and just sort of had a bit of normality back in my life like I did 4 or 5 years ago. So it hasn't been that hard in that way, but to maintain the hours on the board and do the job to what I want to do. And you feel you're not really going many places, obviously, with no tournaments in the calendar through obviously what's going on. So it has been very tough. But at least now I can get my head down. I've got a fair few weeks and sort myself out and get myself ready.
I think it's fair to say that whatever form the match play takes, we know when it's going to take place, but we don't know if it'll be in Blackpool or somewhere else, what sort of crowd there'll be. It's going to feel very different from last year when you went and won it. So your title defence is going to be worlds apart from that experience of winning it in the Winter Gardens. Do you think that's a bit of an... Obviously, it's a negative because everybody wants the Blackpool World Match Play experience that we all know and love. But particularly for you going there with such good memories and on an unbeaten streak, you kind of want everything to be exactly the same, I would imagine, when you walk through the door for the start of your defence. Yeah,
obviously. But I think I've also got to ask myself the question whether I want to be working and sort of doing what I do best. And I think just going back to darts, playing darts and playing the best players in the world again and doing all that, that's enough for me. Because then, you've got something to prove to the world and prove to yourself again. So it's motivation, and at least we are going back. It might be under different circumstances, but I think the biggest thing for me is that I'll get back doing my job and do what I enjoy, really. I think I've spent so much time here working, I actually miss the darts like crazy now, so I'm hungrier than ever.
How big a factor is that for you? Because over the last 2 years, you've had more and more responsibilities, more and more demands on your time. You know, everybody wants a piece of the bloke who had the fairy tale World Championship run his first year, who then followed it up with a European and World Matchplay title, playing in the Premier League, playing World Series. You don't get much time to yourself, and what started out as an amazing adventure in a sport that you love can turn into a real hard job to do, doesn't it? It's difficult to keep the enthusiasm and that hunger, as you say.
Yeah, definitely. It's a slog. Obviously, we play every weekend, midweek pro tours and other things. But I think realistically, for me, I always crave to go and do a bit when I'm at home and try and sort of flex my muscles. I don't have much, but it's enough, I suppose, get by. But it's sort of different now because obviously 10 weeks of being out there and doing that, and it's just sort of, it's turned my life upside down. I don't crave to go and do that anymore. I feel like I want to go and play more darts. So it's I suppose it's weird. The only negative for me, I suppose, with all this stuff coming and getting the weeks off what we had, my little boy's going to be born in early August, so I could be missing him a lot. But apart from that, that's probably the only negative I've got. I'm looking forward to going back, and I'm looking forward to playing well and being great and winning.
Yeah, what I've kind of found with just speaking to the players, a lot of players like I have, is that because it's forced them, everybody, but there always comes that point of let's get back to normality. Let's get back to what we do and back travelling. Even though Dan quite rightly said that it can be so tough being away from home and everything else, but when you're doing it for your job, it's kind of okay. You have to do it. And when it gets enforced upon you that you can't do it, you want to get back doing it. And it just seems to be that enough's enough now. Enough's enough. People want to return to work. Call it work. But just looking at Rob's windowsill, you're going to need a bigger bay window, pal.
I'm having an extension done hopefully soon, and I can have my own room for them. But the only problem is the room's going to be massive compared to what I've got to go in there, so I've really got to pull my finger out. Nice cup of tea.
Yeah. Talking about, I mean, obviously, Rob, you winning the World Championships was arguably the greatest moment in history for you in your career. But how important was it in terms of match play memories last year to sort of say, wow, that's well, arguably we can debate it all day long, but I've just won the second biggest major in the PDC last year. So there's no kind of fluky World Championship. You're winning majors. I see a European Championship behind you as well.
Yeah, just on the right or whatever my right. I think it was important to obviously win the match play because obviously I had a quiet year the following year after I won the Worlds. Life changed a lot, but realistically, I look at that now and I don't see that as an excuse. That's where I was, and I have to. For me now, I need to focus on myself now. I'm getting my place all done. So when I come back now after darts, I haven't got to worry about my place. It'll be all done. It'll be nice to look at it and it'll be all done. So I can just concentrate and actually sort of, I suppose, throw myself like when I lived at the other place. That's all I had was darts and family. And I never really worked too much because everything was done there. And sort of go back to that. Sort of just have the darts and the family time. And just keep practicing because when I practice a lot, I'm always better anyway. But I'm sharper, I get my timing right. And that's what I need to start doing. I think having the 10 weeks off really sort of made me mind up now that I want the better side of it instead of going out every weekend, playing badly and losing. So I think, yeah, it just makes your mind up to what you want. And you have to be strong and I have to put the hours in. If I don't put the hours in, everyone else will.
Do you think there's an opportunity?
Do you know what?
Go on, mate.
No, go on, Dan.
Do you think there's an opportunity here, Rob? We were talking with Nathan earlier on in the show, and he's thinking that, yeah, lots of people have been doing lots of practice at home, but without that sharpness of regular match practice and proper tournaments, he thinks that a lot of people are going to be a bit sluggish and they'll get caught a bit cold when the action starts up again. If you can find a way to be on your game or close to your A game when you get back, everything could be there for the taking, because even a lot of the big boys, so starved of match practice, they might not be quite on it, and there could be another match play title on the line, whatever pro tour events are there, and just winning, that feeling of winning titles, you can get momentum and some sort of feeling that everything starts, good things start to happen. We've seen that when you started a PDC career, you didn't stop winning.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is correct. I think, don't get me wrong, everyone what goes back and plays at the match play, I think everyone's going to be nervous because they haven't had like a proper game of darts with someone in front of them like that for a long, long time, obviously with the TV cameras around. But at the same time, darts is all time and I can get that right on my practice board. So if I go there with full confidence, I'll be confident that I'll play well and get through that. So with the whole year and everything, I haven't had a great year this year, but we look to change that now, and we just sort of look to actually put the practice in now and start working a bit harder again.
Yeah, I think Rob makes a brilliant point about the players will be nervous. It's natural. They're used to doing something. Being under pressure is something you just get used to. And I know, obviously I've been retired for decades now. When under pressure, you don't react as well as you used to. You just can't. You just can't do it. But what Rob's got in his locker that others haven't is that you can win the Worlds playing brilliantly, and you can win the match play playing not so well. You can win a major without playing anywhere near your best. That's something that the others, when I say the others, I'm on about probably there's 3 or 4 players in the world that can do that. The others just cannot. They cannot. And Rob, you have to go into the match play thinking, if I play as well as last year, which, no offence to you, wasn't well at the match play, but it was good enough.
Yeah, I think my timing with me finishing and stuff like that. Obviously, I had a bit of luck in the semi-final. Darrell's wheels fell off, and I just sort of moseyed on through, really. But I think
moseyed on through.
But yeah, with the timing of everything, darts is timing, and if you can hit that big shot and take out that big finish or whatever, you're always hurting your opponent and putting them on the back foot, and no one likes to play on the back foot. So it's sort of, in fairness, is just sort of get me timing right, make sure that I'm confident before I go, and it's sort of one of them things you're looking at now, and I've got tingles on my arms because I just want to get back to it. I just want a bit of normality. Surprising enough, it's hard on the family, sort of being away so much, but you get so used to it and it just becomes your life. It just sort of fits like a glove, I suppose. And now not having it, I've realised how much I do miss it.
Rob, there's a big possibility that the match play might be behind closed doors, which will make the tournament feel completely different for everyone. You guys playing it in particular. How would you feel about playing it? This could be an option as well with crowd noise, fake crowd noise. You've seen it in the Bundesliga, in the football, and it's kind of worked. Or would you rather it silence? How would you like it?
I don't know. I'd like to have something in the background, I suppose. But at the same time, I think the biggest thing is obviously I go back in there defending champion and I want to win it again. So whatever the circumstances, whatever the state of play is that night, I'm only going out to win. So if it is quiet, I'll get over it. I might have a nervous first leg, might make me a little bit more nervy, but at the same time, it's something what you've got to get on with and be ready for either way. So I'm not really too worried, to be honest. It's just going to be one of them things what you're just going to have to deal with on the night and just make sure you play well enough to win.
I'm going to ask all you three this, actually.
Mentioning crowd noise is hilarious. I'll tell you why. I don't know if you should remember. Rob, when you had to keep Leighton quiet because he kept putting you off in the final.
It's different though. Do you know? You play. I still feel guilty over that. Thanks for bringing that up. I really do. I really do. Do you know what? When I played the final and I could hear Leighton's voice, and obviously when you hear voices, what means something to you, and he was a little bit late on what he was saying. So I was just about to sort of release my first dart and stuff. And I have to admit, I have 4 legs and I thought to myself, I can't take this much longer. But no, he's a good boy. He did change it. But it's them, the fine noises. So when I hear his voice, obviously he's my world. All of my kids are my world. And because they matter so much, I play a lot of darts because I want to give them the best things in life. And I suppose in that way, with him shouting out, it made it a lot tougher for me to actually do my job because he was there and he was right in front of me face with his voice. So, yeah, a little bit different, but don't get me wrong, I've got a loyal boy and he supports me through and through. which I'm very grateful.
Guys, I'd be interested. How would you feel, bringing you, Wayne and Dan in as well? When Gerwin, for example, turns round, you've had it a million times, Rob, haven't you? When Gerwin turns around and goes, ah, like that, when he's hit a 180 or a double, and obviously the crowd will react. It'd be interesting to see certain players, their behaviour will be different as well. If they hit a 180 or even a 9-darter, how they're going to react with potentially no crowd.
Well, Gerwin was doing it in his kitchen when nobody was there on the home tour, so I'd imagine that he's not going to stop him if there's just some cardboard cutouts of Wayne Mardle filling up the crowd. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be weird, and weird is good in my book. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in South Korea, they use inflatable dolls. I mean, I know like the PDC like edgy at times.
Well, I want no part.
There's enough conversation about inflatable dolls, definitely. I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. So for you, Rob, it's not an issue. You're just going to go there and play your game, because obviously players do play differently. But in terms of players like Gerwin, he's won on tour events at weekends anyway with no crowd. You all seem to get on with it regardless.
I think it's all about being a professional, really, and sort of going into anywhere with no crowd. I like the crowd. I think it settles you a little bit quicker because it's nice and noisy. That's the way I've used to sort of playing under them conditions when it is loud, and I have got used to it. So it'll be a little bit alien at first, but it's just one of them things. You just got to deal with it and ask yourself one question: what do you want at the end of it? And if you want to win, then you'll go in there and you'll deal with it to the best of your capabilities.
Yeah, every player will adapt, Bridgie, because they simply have to. They're being put in a situation where they have to get on with it. Simple as that, and they will.
But you, Wayne, for example, I mean, you had the crowd always behind you, and your entrances. It would have been great to have seen you as well. How you would have reacted.
Wayne would have lost one of his greatest weapons if he didn't have a crowd.
High-fiving like
correct.
Yeah.
I know what would have happened. I'd have played the first round and gone home.
You would have retired a lot earlier, that was for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm right up there with the crowd are absolutely a weapon of choice for me. I'd have them any day of the week rather than I was going to say a fourth dart, but I'm not sure about that. But I believe that, like in the Pro Tour events back in the day, you just adapt and get on with it. And some like it, some don't. Don't forget, there's players up on that stage that don't want the crowd there. They don't want them there. In fact, they don't want anything there apart from their opponent. And they say to the scorer, have I reached 10 yet? And then the next round. So don't forget, this is going to help some players. Not everyone, of course, but some.
Rob, we had Nathan Aspinall on before you. We like talking about who's the best or the top 3 or 4. Is it time now we start putting Nathan Aspinall in the bracket of sort of the top 3 or 4 ones to beat?
I think he's matured so much, obviously, since winning the UK Open, and he's gone on the great things. Has a good run in the Worlds every year so far. Since then, he's a fantastic dart player. I like playing Nathan. Nathan, he's a great guy. I know he's really down to earth. He's nice, and you can't knock him really for what he's done and where he's going and the way he's playing. There's probably better things still to come in him.
I watches more darts than I do. Dan watches so much it's ridiculous, and he knows that Nathan's liked because he just gets on with it. He gets on with it. He has a bit of fun. He takes it serious. He's professional, but he's an all-round decent guy. But the main reason why people like him as a dart player is that there's no fuss. Just gets on with it. Simple as that.
Dan, would Rob be one of your favourites to win it? I mean, obviously Rob sounds very laid back about the no crowd. So does that? Are there players you think from what you've seen in the home tour where you think he might be good at this kind of environment?
I think Rob would admit himself this year's probably not been it's probably been his least successful year so far. I know it's only been very truncated, but what there have been with Rob, there have been little signs that the best stuff could be just around the corner. And like I said to you guys earlier, I think it's a massive opportunity for everybody coming back, because I think some players will get caught cold and they won't be ready. And whoever is ready, there's a chance to win a lot of big, big things. And Rob is one of the very few proven winners out there. I think Rob, this year, 2020, which has not been his best, could turn out to be one of his best come the end of it if he seizes the chances, because we know he's got more quality than 99.9% of people who've thrown a dart in their lives. So it's exciting time, just buzzing for it to come back and seeing the likes of Rob and Nathan going at it.
How are you feeling then towards it? Because you're going to have a very busy, potentially second half of the year. I know you've got a baby coming. You can look forward to that. But do you like being a bookie's nightmare? Like, as Dan says, you can have a sort of a bit of a dry patch, and then all of a sudden you go and win a tournament.
Yeah, I think with that, it's all with me. It's everything's in the prep and out what I'm doing, and hence why I've had this time off. I've managed to sort things out here, so hopefully I can get my prep back to normal, sort of every week, practicing, doing what I want to do. Still have my day off with my kids and stuff. It's gonna be very busy. But if you're playing well, it's easy to go out and play well. It's when you're struggling, it's not so nice. So for me now, we get back on the board, get ready for the match play, and then thereafter we'll see what happens there. We'll play well and just sort of keep it going, really. I suppose form, when you're playing well, it sort of just runs into one competition, runs out of another, and you just sort of keep it going. You're always playing well then. So for me, it's the maintenance behind the scenes, really, when I'm at home, making sure that I'm ready and doing what I've done in 10 weeks now, and it'll be finished this week. There's no more problems for me here. I can just crack on and do what I want to do now. I'll get my family time, I'll put my time on the board, and if I do that, I'll be better than ever.
Encouraging words, exciting stuff, that.
Yeah. Wayne, finally on you, the match play is special, and it's special to all the ex-players as well. Does the practicing go up when it is a Grand Prix and a match play?
But I was quite odd in what I did. I always prioritised big events anyway. It was just the way I'm not saying I peaked. I don't think I ever peaked. Let's put that out there. But I really do believe that for the match play, for the World Championships, for the Grand Slams, that you want to play well, obviously, but you want to feel good going into them. You just want to feel good. And sometimes your form doesn't have to be brilliant. As long as you feel all right, as long as you feel relaxed enough to know that when you're pushed, you know what, I'm all right with that. I'll be all right with that. Again, I'll go back to Rob at the match play last year. Yes, you need a bit of luck, but to reel in Daryl Gurney like he did, and to storm ahead of Michael Smith like he did, you've got to be doing certain things right at the right time. And as long as you're comfortable, you're fine. But practice-wise, just feel comfortable. As long as you're happy with your game, you'll be absolutely fine. 99.9% of professionals will say that. It's not really how you're playing, it's how you're feeling. If you're feeling all right, you'll be okay.
Rob, I'll give you the final word. If there was no crowd, who would be the one person, if you got to the final, you would not want to meet? Where you have to listen to him through the whole final.
That's a tough one, isn't it? I'm not really too bothered. I don't know. I suppose Gezi, if he wanted to keep shouting in front of me, he'd probably get on my nerves a bit. But at the same time, when people get on your nerves on a dartboard, sometimes, yeah, you go up there and you play even better. You put fire with fire. So, yeah, we go for him.
Dan and Wayne, get Gezi and Rob in a silent final live on Sky Sports. That'd be pretty fun, wouldn't it?
Well, as long as Richard North doesn't make the final, I'm happy. I'll watch it.
Wayne, you'll be commentating, no doubt. So that'd be new for you as well, won't it?
Yeah, of course it will. And look, like playing, I rely on the atmosphere that the crowd provide whilst commentating as well. And look, it's going to be different for everyone. But no matter who wins it or who does well or who flourishes and people are going to wilt as well. But like I said, there's going to be people that go into this thinking, do you know what, this is a result. I can thrive here. And Dan's right that there's going to be people that are going to put in that little bit more work, thinking, I'm going to hit the ground running. There's maybe an opportunity for someone to do something they've never done before. And I'm not saying it's going to be Michael Smith. I'm not saying it's going to be Dave Chisnell. But just, you know what? Just maybe someone that has never won a major wins that major.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Rob, if it is you, you'll be retaining one of the biggest trophies in the sport. And thank you so much for joining us. Dan, as always, thank you very much. You've been fantastic over the last few months. And Wayne, we look forward to having you back on Sky Sports. Guys, thank you so much. That's the June edition of the Dart Show from home. We hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you again very soon.